In this video, we're going to be talking about transitions. They're a very cool way to have a component of yours just, I guess, appear into the UI. So it's a way to, rather than, display, on or off or whatever, it's a way to bring in a particular component in a kind of fancy schmancy way. So what we're going to do is look at the documentation, see all the different aspects of transitions, and then we're going to do some examples after that. And yeah, let's go to reading. So it says, Chakra exports 4 components: fade, scale fade, slide, and slide fade to provide simple transitions. And for an important statement here, it says most transition components are made using Framer Motion. I think everyone should check it out. They accept the following props: common props from Framer's motion elements, in prop used to trigger the transition, and unmount on exit prop used to unmount the component when it is not visible. So these are the 4 ways that you could bring in, or the 4 different things you could bring in from Chakra. The, the fade, scale fade, all other stuff. I guess it'll make more sense when I click and show you. So what we have right here is we have this, and it comes on in. That's pretty neat. So we have this button, and we're using disclosure here, and this is just a way to toggle, on off kind of states, if you will. So is open right now is true. If we were to click this again, is open would be false right here. Kind of no big surprise to that, but it is wrapped in fade. And we notice that fade is taking the in prop right here for is open. And so when we click it, we have the box, all that color you just saw disappear, and it slowly fades on in right here. So maybe we could use this for something along the lines of maybe some kind of test, or maybe even like a flip card kind of program, or maybe for like a quiz. Maybe I'm more academic minded, but it's kind of one of those interesting things where maybe above you have some kind of checkboxes, radio button, something for an answer, and then this would be a way to click and actually see what the answer is to whatever it is you're being asked. So we have scale fade right here, essentially the same setup we had before. We have the initial scale is 0.9, all right, and everything else seems to be the same. So you notice that it scales and fades in a little bit differently here. This is scale fade. Let's scroll up here, and this is fade. So if you're going to do this initial scale, and let's do something like this. Let's do 0.1. And we notice that it's more of a dramatic way of coming on into the screen here. Let's try this again. And it goes, yeah, in and out. And I think it's a bit more slow, I guess I would say, but it has more of that. You could see it incoming rather than a flash, because sometimes the rough thing with animations is when you fade something in and it's a very quick motion, it's almost like, why have the fade? Why you want, if it's going to be so subtle, why use the effect at all? And so stuff like this, to me, I think is a bit more, I mean, you don't have to make it 0.1, but you have to also understand what value is this bringing to your end user here. So we have the slide transition, and this is coming up from the bottom here. This is kind of like a drawer, actually, which is really kind of funny. And so we have the slide, then we have direction bottom, and yes, you have multiple directions you could bring in the slide from. We have is open right here, and then we have the style index. We have the Z index 10, so it kind of sits on top of everything else on the page. Although I will say this, don't abuse the Z index attribute here. Why? Off the top of my head, I can't give you a good explanation because I'm recording this a little bit later at night. But I know there's some good articles out there on you don't always want to set this to like 9,999. There's better strategies to do that. So just be cautious when doing that. So let's remove that. And let's do a slide fade transition. And it's just contained in here. We have the offset by, 20 pixels. Let's see if we were to do like, 80. I don't know what that would look like. I've never done this before, so let's find out together. And so it feels like it comes in from a much farther distance away for the offset is, because remember, it's slide fading in, and it's seemingly coming from the bottom here. I don't know what happened if you did 800. I don't know if that even makes sense, but let's just try it anyways for fun. Yeah, so it seems like it's literally coming from a long way away. And if you were to do this, because I have this cropped, if you do this on the full screen on yours, you would literally see it fly right off the page. But this is actually kind of cool because at least before in some iterations of Facebook's homepage for their website, when you're using Messenger, you could actually see the Messenger in some parts of it sitting like below the fold, below the page in and of itself. And that's kind of a neat thing, you know, it's just kind of sitting there off the page. And when they click, you know, on someone's name or a chat that's coming up, I think what they do there, and don't quote me for sure, is they bring it from the literal off the screen upward. So it looks like it's appearing out of nowhere when really it's been there the whole time. So you could use this for like a, you know, chat feature if you wanted to. And then we have the collapse transition. It says the collapse component is used to create regions of content that could expand / collapse with a simple animation. It helps to hide content that's not immediately relevant to the user. So let's see what this does. So this is kind of like an accordion, right? So it may not be relevant here. So I know I have this button toggling it. And you may not always have the button, but you may have some kind of loader up here, some kind of spinner, something going on, a message that says, we're preparing your, I don't know, how much we could loan you, you know, your bank, and you're making a website. And then when something is available, you end up toggling this in such a way where it says you're qualified for, you know, to pull out money to get a Maserati or something along those lines. And then here are just some more examples that they provided here for you as well. And then we have the props. Be sure to go over all these props here. Some of them I cover, some of them I do not. That's what experimenting, what coding is about. This is just to give you the big overview highlights of the library. So let's just get to coding. Alrighty, so we're going to do 4 examples here. And the first one, we're just going to do a basic fade for our transition. So let's get to coding. So we have this use disclosure hook right here. We have is open, which is essentially saying, you know, is it true or is it false? And then we have on toggle, which moves it, this state is open between true and false. So that way we don't have to, you know, make other logic ourselves with our hooks. Chakra gives this to us out of the box here. And so when we click on click here, which is a mouthful to say, we're going to set that toggle between true and false. So right now it's not open, and when we click it, it's going to set it to true, which then this fade in component here is going to be looking for, you know, is this going to be able to fade in? If it's true, it's going to show the contents. So what does this look like? We see this fades in right there, and that this hook is toggling it for us. And we have this box coming in with all these attributes we've given it. All that styling is just a, you know, simple little message in here. And this is one of the ways that we could use the transitions, more specifically the fade. So let's go and let's just combine the next example and this example together. So that way, I think this is a bit easier. So we have the fade, but then we could also do the scale fade. So let's see what that looks like. So the other one kind of appears, this looks like it comes right on in, slightly differently, at least, you know, maybe my prescription sucks. But how do we change this? So scale fade, how do we change its scaling? Well, we could do something like this. Reset this. And this right here is the initial scale. And so this is set at, 0.95. And so we could toggle with this right here, and let's just do, I don't know, 4. I don't know if that'll blow anything up. Let's just play with it here. And nothing, can't even click this anymore. So obviously 4 is out of the range for this guy. So let's come up here and come back to 0 and give this to 0.0003. And you can see, it seems, at least it feels to me, it's more of a drastic incoming effect. Let's see if we could even toggle, a couple more zeros in here. And it seems to at least have some visual limitations. If there's anything else it's doing by me adding those couple zeros, I'm definitely not noticing it here. But as we move this value around, we could definitely see that it scales and it doesn't just slap itself on the page. It's kind of like, incoming. And so this is how I use the fade as well as the scale fade, and also toggle the initial scale of the scale fade component coming on in. In the next video, or at least the next section, I should say, we're going to look at the slide and then the slide fade transition. So see y'all in just a moment. Okay, now let's look at slide. So let's just remove scale fade and type in slide. Come in here and replace it as well. So we see that it comes in from the side there. Let's do this again. It comes in from the side, and it's kind of unfortunate because it's blocking the button right here. So obviously you're going to want to position something about this that's slightly different. But what could we do as developers to change the outcome of this? Well, we could come in here and there's an attribute for direction. And we could do something like bottom. And we see that it comes in from the bottom right there. If we also wanted to do something, we can make it come from the top, which then also covers our button right here, right? And we could also, give it a style of Z index 10 right here. And this just allows it to sit more, I guess you'd say, on top. Now, I'm not the master of Z index. It's not something I've researched in a while, but as we're talking about like the layers of things that are on top of your like website and stuff, this is one way that you could ensure that this slide and the items on the inside have the utmost, I guess, importance to what components are most on top facing the viewer. And so, yeah, this is how you use slide. Don't forget, you can change the directions in here. And if we want to come in from the right, let me reset this because my browser is weird. We could come in from the right, and let's just do one for the left. Still kind of the, the same stuff going on right there. But we also have slide fade. So let's swap this out. So as I reset this, we just have the basic right here. The slide fade, the in, is it in or is it not? And we see that it slides in. So rather than the scale where it starts in the center and pops out, this just kind of seems like it flies in from the bottom here. And it's just another way of introducing information into your screen. So play around with these slides, have fun with them. These are just real quick, small examples. But if you like what I'm doing, like, share, subscribe, leave some, hopefully positive reinforcement, and I'll see y'all in the next video.